Jeannie. It's Jean.
Hi, Jean. Welcome.
How are you this morning?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm doing okay. And just to remember that I have another Zoom meeting, so I have to get off the call at 9:45 if we go that long.
At what time?
9:45.
Okay.
We don't want any confusion about who's Supervisor Severson.
Right. Yes, you can.
Okay. I think we're all here, so I'll call the meeting to order. Certification of open meeting requirements have been met. If we could have a roll call of committee members. Nutter here. Yes, I'll turn on my mic, sorry.
Galazinski here.
Sorgi here.
Petrick here.
Severson here.
Foltz here.
Becker here.
Kevin, can you hear us?
I see him, but.
He's looking. Are you on mute, Kevin? Yeah, it is. It says it is. The red light's on. I don't either.
You can't see it. I don't know if we can call him.
The red light on my mic isn't on, but can you guys, is it on? I'm on, right?
He said he lost you.
Just turn this one on.
Start over again.
So now try.
I'll use this one. They both say District 15, so it doesn't matter. Oh, Kevin, are you there? Are you there, Kevin?
Yeah.
Okay, good, all right. Yes, yay, we can hear you. Okay, everybody's here. Wow, the whole committee's here, great. I would like, is there a motion to adopt the agenda? Or, okay, is there a second? All in favor? Has everybody, thank you, Jean. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes from the last meeting? Okay, I would appreciate a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, great, thanks, Kevin. Is there a second?
This is Jean. I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Okay, we'll have 2 minutes for public comment. What is the phone number? I don't have it on here to call in. 538.
1770.
Okay. Okay. So if there's anybody out there in the public who's listening to us who would like to call in with any kind of comment, the number is 715-538-1770. You can answer the phone if it calls. I'm not sure what phone, it's probably that.
It'll ring up there.
Okay. Sometimes we have that big phone out here in the middle.
Ring on this one?
Yep.
Yep.
So then how, I don't know.
I
Put
just
it
put
on
a
speaker
speaker or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you lift up the handset, hit the speaker button.
How are you?
With the handset.
Good, you?
Good.
How's your knee?
130 range of motion
So we
yesterday.
don't
Is
use
that
the
kind of the ball?
Polycom?
Huh?
Is that what's
Better than good.
awesome? Good to hear.
It's only been 6 weeks.
Fast recovery. The more you work, the quicker you get better.
You follow the rules.
That's the thing a lot of people don't like.
Okay, it appears that we have no public comment.
We do have a public comment right here.
Oh, yay! I don't always think of you as public. I think you as part of us.
I was just
You
wondering.
can sit at the table. Just have a seat.
I was wondering if we were going to have on the report, I didn't see it on the agenda, about the 509C, the Friends of Petrick Park, if we can have an update where we're at with that. And then I would also like to discuss about signage and items for the celebration, 50th anniversary, when we get to that.
I'd say on the Parks Update one and the Economic Development Tourism Coordinator Update as well. So those two agenda items, we should be able to discuss those things.
It feels like it was 5 years ago we talked about the 50th, and now it's like coming up soon. Okay, next on the agenda is a resolution adopting Petrick Park Master Plan, discussion and possible action. Who's gonna, is that you?
I believe we were gonna, yes,
Okay.
in part.
We have the resolution.
Do we want to go over the resolution first, or do we want to have the neighborhood planners do the presentation? So I'm thinking maybe we do the consultants are here
Okay.
to give a kind of a final presentation on the development of the master plan, and then we could maybe go over the resolution after that.
Sure.
If that works.
Perfect.
Okay. So Andrew, can you hear me?
I can.
Perfect. So I guess I'll hand it over to you, and we can go from there.
Okay. It said host disabled participant screen sharing. I was just going to walk through that PDF presentation. All right, now it should let me do it. There we go. Okay, can you see the screen, Reed?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so I was just going to take a few minutes to go through this. I think we've covered most of this at the preceding meetings. So just a quick little executive summary recap for maybe for folks who are new to the committee or didn't make the last meeting, perhaps. We started this process earlier this spring, about a 4-month process to prepare the master plan under the direction of the PTED Committee and the county board. We not only had an opportunity to review some surveys, some recently completed surveys that were done. There was a youth survey that Reed put out that received several hundred comments from across the county. There was also a recently completed survey that was done as part of the comprehensive outdoor rec plan update. So we actually had a bunch of survey public input data before we really even started the project, or just as we started the project, which was great. We, with the direction of the PTED, we then put together some alternative concepts and brought those forward to the public. And we did that at the Wannick Center and as well as out at the park, and received, I thought, some really good feedback from the public through both of those exercises. In particular at the Wannick Center, got a lot of youth feedback as people were coming in and out of there. So these initial 3 concepts were put together that showed some different configurations and layouts within the park. But ultimately, the direction seemed to be, there seemed to be strong support for the concept of doing a rec pond, some type of pond at the within those 5 or 6 acres that were recently donated to the county, just off to the south of the entrance road into the park. And as part of those public exercise there and the outreach at the Wannock, we did some visual preference diagramming that I thought really confirmed some of the findings from the surveys. Again, there seemed to be support for looking at a rec pond, a support for potentially adding an additional shelter, support for the pedestrian bridge, interest in doing some maybe a more adventure playground. So there's a little image in there of a zip line and a ropes course. And so kind of coming up with some new elements or features to bring a little bit more diverse attractions into the park. And as we went through the process here with PTED, we came up with these 4 sort of overarching goals to help frame the plan, establishing a financially sustainable park, supporting youth development, providing environmental stewardship opportunities, and then supporting countywide tourism and economic development is sort of the 4 overarching goals for the master plan. And then we presented that plan at the last meeting, the draft final plan. We did receive some comments back at that last meeting and subsequent to that meeting. And Garrett and I updated this, what you see before you, and is also available as a separate PDF document, which is the updated master plan showing some of the key elements or key features here. Obviously, expansion of the campground, introduction of the rec pond, and I guess I'll just mention with the rec pond, the size of this is maybe relative to this 6 acres is perhaps a little large. I think the rec pond probably wants to be closer to an acre and a half, between 1 and 2 acres. And as shown on here, again, this is a concept plan. It's probably shown a little bit larger than that, but it's, I think, more just to illustrate to folks that the pond, so that you can see it and it's noticeable, but it more than likely would be a little bit smaller than what's depicted here. The 4 and 5 are, again, just kind of reimagining the playground a little bit, doing more of a natural playground and an adventure playground there to support, again, more youth activities. The pedestrian bridge, accessing the trails on their side of the river. Number 9, the kind of future expansion of the campground and organizing that. One of the things I guess I'll mention is, at the end of the day, we had initially proposed maybe phasing out or limiting some of the equestrian facilities over there because there was a perception that those weren't used a ton. We did get quite a bit of feedback indicating that, in fact, they are used. So for the time being, we thought we would just leave that as is. There's enough other projects, I think, for the group to focus on. So our thought is with the equestrian facilities, kind of take a wait and see approach. Along the state highway down here to the south, we expanded the trail network. And then the idea is these little topographical areas would be like mini drumlins or small, contoured hills. Perhaps some of the dredgings or spoils from the rec pond could be used to create some features there that you could plant trees on and create a little bit more sense of enclosure within the park itself. Number 6 is a dog park located over by the lower shelter along the border there, as shown. And the idea there is just, again, provide an opportunity for people to let their dogs run off leash. This could be done on a small sort of pilot basis, and it could be expanded over time. Those are some of the highlights. We can kind of circle back to that when we talk more specifically on the master plan itself. Just want to mention a few thoughts on the rec pond considerations, going into tiptoeing into the pond, so to speak. There are a lot of variables at play. There's a lot of different ways you can do a rec pond with a liner, without a liner, with inflatables, without inflatables. And I know that you've got some folks on the committee now that have some experience in this area. So I think a few thoughts on moving forward with the rec pond. Since you do have a few of these ponds within an hour's drive, I thought it would, one of the recommendations is to maybe as a committee or as groups, schedule some site visits to those nearby facilities, take a look at them, talk to the managers, get a better handle on the costs and the operational requirements for those facilities. I think doing a project like the rec pond, it's a major investment. I would recommend putting together some type of business plan, operations plan that would clearly lay out kind of that top goal, create a financially sustainable park. Want to make sure that's a financially viable option for you. I think there's some good funding opportunities out there, especially now that you have that comprehensive outdoor rec plan in place and a master plan here. I think there probably are some opportunities to go after some grant funding and do some private fundraising through the Friends of the Park. And then as part of that rec pond construction, again, we thought there might be an opportunity to use some of the dredging material to perhaps create the drumlins, as well as perhaps there's a tie-in with creating a more noticeable signage into the park through some mounding there and introduction of some type of monument sign at the entrance to the park. We put together some what I call planning level cost estimates. So this is kind of done, again, knowing we're still at a high level here, but as you pick off bits and pieces of this project, you'll have an opportunity to just continue refining these numbers, but these were based on projects that Garrett and I have worked on, different areas. The low figures, the low estimate there is just assuming that there's a little more in-kind or partner activity or contribution. So if you do have an opportunity for some of the area farmers, to do some of the grading, that'll obviously bring the costs down on some of these items. And then on the higher end, is assuming that everything's gone out to bid, with the private contractor. And certainly, so I think these are pretty good sort of planning level cost estimates, and looking at the park and kind of what your kind of a 10-year vision here for implementing these items. And final slide. Okay, some of the phasing, or sort of thinking about moving forward, some of the priorities I think that came out of here. We're establishing that Friends group. We talked about that at the last meeting, putting together a business plan for the rec pond. I think putting together a marketing plan for the campground, and just based on the previous discussions, it sounded like that was an area the county recognized it could do a little bit better job on. And now with having an economic development director on board and having some additional people with campground expertise on the committee, I think putting together a simple marketing plan makes a lot of sense. And then start getting into that mode of writing grants and doing fundraising for the rec pond. I thought, that might be something, again, over the next year could be done with the goal, perhaps a kind of a stretch goal of starting construction on that rec pond in 2024. And the other piece we thought made sense would be to budget a couple $1,000s to do a feasibility study on that pedestrian bridge next year. And we can talk a little bit more about that if people have questions on what that might entail. Reed, that was my high-level executive summary. Want to keep it short and sweet, so I will, I guess, kick it back to you for additional discussion.
Well, thank you, Andrew. Does the committee have any questions for Andrew or myself or further discussion before we?
Question. If you adopt the master plan, how much latitude do we have in making changes down the road? Do we have any? Do we have some? Or, you know what I mean?
When we refer to
Are you stuck to this plan?
Oh, as far as making changes to the plan
Yeah.
itself, I
Yeah.
think it's a flexible plan, and you know
Even if you adopt
we can
it.
prioritize certain things. You know, obviously, there's a lot of variables in each one of these projects. So, kind of what I see happening is, it's going to be, quite a lengthy phase process, obviously, because we're going to be going after donations and grants mostly for funding. But we'll tackle each project as it comes, and obviously with the new donation of the land, the 6 acres right next to the park there, I feel like that should be a priority, doing something on there. But yes, it is fluid.
With the donation, what's the condition that goes along with that donation?
That's right. We have 3 years to do some sort of development on that 6 acre donation prior to, or it's a stipulation, otherwise it goes back to the landowners.
How long? How many more years we got?
It was officially transferred on December 31st of 21.
Guess we got.
We have 2 years and
Two
a
more,
couple months.
2 more seasons of construction work, so that's why 24 was kind of the goal. Realistically, we wouldn't be able to break ground next year because of all the planning and, obtaining
We
funding.
have time.
We do have a little bit of time.
And I also have a question on 15, where they're the low campsite.
Sure,
Is there any other spot we can move? Is that flood?
it does.
Is there anywhere else we could put that?
You mean the group camping?
Yes. Just primitive? No, I'm just asking. I'm just like, I know it's primitive, but is it, if it floods, when does it flood? Mostly in the spring?
Typically spring and a few of those heavy rain events we've had over the past 5-6 years.
Okay.
Like
If you
that.
notice, 15, there's another 15 that's across from the lower shelter.
Yep.
That's on higher ground.
Yeah. Well, I was
It's not a
just
real large
wondering,
spot.
can we move some, even if we add another one up by 8 where the campers set in I think that's woods right there. I don't know if that was higher ground or.
Yeah, 8 is high ground there. There's existing
But can-
camping
can
with
we
infrastructure
Can
there.
we put any kind of campsites in there, or is it just thick brush that we could just trim it out? I'm asking the gentleman that worked there.
Right.
Right along that road.
Okay,
On both sides.
on both sides, that's campsite.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And when you get to that, like, tree line that they're showing there, that's basically swamp area.
It's swamp area, okay, because that's what I was trying to figure out. The map doesn't say swamp, it's hard to justify what thing, it looks like a tree line, so I'm.
Yes,
to
the
see-
gray area with the trails is definitely, that's swamp and
That's
lowland down there.
Swampland,
Yeah.
okay. That's,
Mhm.
just trying to figure out my bearing on everything.
Reed, you have a question, Buzz?
Yeah. Riley, would that work, or Reed, just move 15 a bit west to get it up out of there? I guess I had some of that same concern of a
concern.
flash flood.
Right.
Somebody's
You
camping
don't want
down there.
somebody caught down there at
No.
night. So if we just move that up the hill a bit, that area seems pretty open back there.
When it's flooded that I've seen, I mean, it's just been a few inches of water.
Well, a few inches to somebody sleeping on the ground, that's a lot.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's not like it's, 3 feet or anything like that.
Yeah, but you get
I mean,
one
it's
of
just a
those.
few inches that I've seen in there, kind of running down the road, and it's the 15 that's the furthest south, because you got the 15
Yeah, you got the
north
other-
of that, that's high ground, that doesn't flood at all. Basically, we got open area and trees down there. We just planted a whole bunch of trees. I planted, I would say, about 10 oaks and 7 or 8 sugar maples down there.
Reed, how many total sites do we have?
Counting the overflow,
Sure,
about 75.
75, okay. And then how many site nights do we currently have?
How many site?
Nights, how many site nights? How many reservations do we have in each site?
In each, are you saying like on a weekly basis on average, or are you saying like just a typical non-overflow?
So, in the camping industry, one of the things that they kind of look at is like how many times is that site used?
Okay.
Each site. So maybe that's something if we don't track, that we should. And if we I think part of that might be our reservation system.
Oh, yes.
And that makes it just so much easier.
Absolutely it does.
Yeah.
So our reservation system currently is literally an Excel spreadsheet. So it's manual entry, and then like site nights, we'd have to go back through and just hand count each night that
Okay.
campsite is used. Site 18 and 19 are our most popular up top. The lower sites are used for people who like to be down by the river, away from everything, more rustic. But as far as an actual site night study, we have not done one.
Okay, so if you do have the Excel spreadsheets, we can at least do that. But I would suggest that we look into a reservation system for you as soon as possible, because I can't imagine that's got to be very cumbersome to get a reservation. And even for the camper experience, how long does it take me to register? Can I register that day? Can I pull in at 7 o'clock at night? If you have stuff online, it's going to be just so much slicker for you. And in today's world, there's several reservation systems that the consumer pays for. So
Right.
it doesn't come back to us.
That's been on our agenda for years.
Yeah,
Okay.
we have item number 13.
Oh, okay. So when we
So
get
Becky has started the
That was
process.
like 5 years ago.
Right.
And then now we're going on, I feel like maybe almost 3 years with this last one.
well, how about we get it done this month?
That would be
I mean,
a miracle.
okay, well, I'm pretty sure we can pull a miracle out of this one. So
Well,
it should take us about.
That would be involving the IT department, and it's a little bit complicated, so.
I'm here to tell you, it should.
I know, there's a lot of difference between the public world and the private sector. And we
Understand.
have, IT is helping with, they're helping with reservations next year for Ashley, correct?
It depends on what we discuss and
Right.
decide to go forward on
Right.
this reservation system, yeah.
Yeah. I
We-
struggle with how complicated it could be.
We
Well,
could talk more about that
On 13.
on
sure.
Yeah,
13.
That's
and, it'd be nice to, good topic.
It is a good topic, and trust me, we have struggled with this for as long as I've been involved in this committee.
Wow.
We couldn't take credit cards for a long time. We
still
still
can't.
don't, so it's, it's something we haven't been ignoring, but it's something that we've talked about for a long time.
Let's move on and not keep this gentleman waiting here.
Yeah.
So any other discussion on the master plan, Buzz?
When's the document available, Andrew? And the second part of that is, what is going to be the process of the committee we will need to add as agenda to prioritize these activities? I think that's where Bob was headed, over some type of low, medium, high priority system of some sort that allows us then to focus on the highs front
Yeah.
and then the lows towards the tail end.
Here's Andrew. Andrew, you
think
wanted
that-
to say something?
Sure, I was just I think I really, great discussion. I just want to quickly address the previous discussion relative to the reservation system. I know that's on a separate agenda item, but great opportunity there. I did, in the master plan, I did go through and review that and did a tally and analyze some of those figures. And I think, as we've discussed before, the utilization is fairly low outside of a few peak weekends. And I think that's some low hanging fruit that I think is going to have a huge upside, pretty immediately once, you transition that system. And I think, Buzz, as far as prioritizing, I think, getting this thing adopted and just as an overall framework or an overall vision is kind of the first step, whether that's PTED as well as the county board. It just kind of says, okay, here's sort of the vision we're shooting for. And then I would just start prioritizing these items, at your very next meeting, and starting to pick them off and and figure out what the top priorities are and how you're going to tackle them. And with these master plans, sometimes I like to show an example of a project I've been working on for the city of Neenah for probably 6 years. The master plan started out as this big vision. It's changed, over that 6-year period as more funders come on board, as you do surveys, as you start to get more detailed environmental information, as you get different donors involved. These things tend to evolve and morph and change over time. But I think having the overall vision, I think, is the first step, adopting that. And so it just gives people some comfort that you're heading in the right direction, and then immediately starting to prioritize those items makes a lot of sense to me.
And I think back to one of your earlier concerns is it's important to have a master plan in order to apply for grants. I mean, it's addressed in the resolution, but if we don't have any plan, we're really at a loss for how we can apply for grants and other. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I think things.
I did read that in there, you have to have a master plan. I
Yeah.
understand that, I just want to know if you're locked in, or if you can have some leverage one way or the other.
One thing to look at this is think about this more as, I think the word has been aspirational or kind of, general direction. And then, this is not a to the inch site plan. This is just more of a little bit more of an oversight, pretty picture of generally, and going forward, we'll start, surveying some, when we're doing, when we get to the rec pond part, we'll be surveying parts of the site, getting stakes in so we make adjustments for future structures and all that kind of stuff. So that's where that on-the-ground stuff happens.
It's like a blueprint that can always be adjusted.
Can
Andrew, you had something?
Yeah, I was just going to make one other comment. I did put together, I'm working with staff on refining this, but it's just another little tool you can use to get out and do fundraising. I did put together an executive summary. So this would be an 11 by 17, double-sided, that you just fold over, and a little tool that you could use to communicate the vision. It's got a cover page. The inside would really just be the master plan itself, and on the back it'd talk about park goals and objectives and a little bit more about the parks. So this is something I'm working with Mike and Reed on, and we should have this completed pretty quickly as just another kind of executive summary of the plan that you could use when you go out and talk to people about it.
Are there any other questions of Reed or Mike? Or Andrew? Did he leave? No, he's still there. Kevin has to leave at 8:45. Jean has to leave at 9:45. So. Other questions?
No.
You have a question?
I want to make a motion to accept.
To approve the resolution?
To approve the resolution.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you. Thank you, Andrew, for all your incredibly hard work. And yours as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jeannie, you want to start signing it and sending the resolution?
I don't have the original.
Well, it's all the same.
Okay.
Andrew, do you have a question?
No, I was just going to thank you for the opportunity to work with you, and I will. I can sign off now if that makes sense, and I'll be in touch with Reed and Mike as we just wrap up the final documents, this executive summary. But thanks for the opportunity, and good luck getting this thing built.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.
All right. Take care.
I put an X by Jean and Kevin because they were here via. Okay, great. Thanks for all that hard work. It feels like a big milestone. Next on our agenda is Economic Development and Tourism Coordinator Activity Report.
Good morning, everybody. I will try and keep this brief because I know we've got a long agenda here. Really, the main focus for me has been to continue business visits, trying to balance those geographically throughout the county. At last count, I think I was over 70 business visits, and that ranges from, Main Street businesses to just last week I was in Arcadia, and I had a really good, almost 2-hour meeting with the folks at Pilgrims.
Oh.
And that was a very, very enlightening, illuminating visit. Biggest issues that they identified, and these are not going to be unique to them whatsoever, is, a shortage of workforce. They're down about 40 positions right now that they could fill. And the impact that's having on them, frankly, is there's certain things they could do, value-added products from what they're already processing, that they can't do with a shortage of workers. Biggest needs that they see are housing and childcare, which again, you go just about any place in the United States right now, maybe even the world, and those are going to be big issues. So really the purpose of getting out and doing these visits, which is not something that we've done previously with this position, is to see if there are some common needs, things that the county can help facilitate. Mike and I just talked last week after I made that visit to Pilgrims. I want to call them Golden Plum. I still remember they were Arcadia Friars. Is taking a look at doing a housing study, and the purpose of that would be to really take an inventory of what kind of housing stock we've got in Trempealeau County, single family, multifamily, et cetera, and then try and get a sense of like what we're short in each of those areas. And then based on that, then there's some information that can be taken to housing developers potentially, and there's some money available to do housing. There's money available to do housing studies too. So we're not talking about asking for taxpayer dollars here to, a lot of taxpayer dollars to do something like this. But anyways, that's just an insight as to how, what kind of decisions or different next steps these business visits are intended to inform. Been working on continuing to monitor and manage the tourism campaign that we've got going this year with River Travel Media. They're administering the grant that we got, $19,000 ARPA grant for destination marketing. It's been pretty successful so far. We've gotten a lot of good reach out of it. If you haven't already subscribed to the mailing list through the website, I encourage you to go do that. We are giving away a vacation package this fall that includes like an overnight stay and some restaurant certificates, that kind of thing. Can't tell you exactly what's in the package yet because I'm still putting it together. But we're trying through these campaigns to drive people, to encourage people to register for our email list, because then that's going to be a way going forward that whether or not we're doing, a targeted campaign with, $19,000 or not, it's still a way we can directly reach. And I think we're up to like 1,800, 1,900 people on that email list now. So it's definitely growing. One thing I'm starting this week is outreach to village boards and city councils. So I have the Village of Ettrick up tonight. Have I think it's Osseo, Oliva, and Blair next week. So the intent of those visits is just to make an introduction, and it's to offer whatever assistance I might be able to. As we all know, we're not a big county to start with, 30,000-ish, and no community that's over 3,000. None of our villages or cities could even dream about even having a part-time economic development person. And I see my role as being available and serving as that for each of these communities. But, we need to establish the connections first and start that dialogue about what the needs are in each community. So other than that, I think I will just end the report, and if there's any questions I can answer.
I just have a quick question.
Yeah.
What is the response from the community members and people that you're meeting with about your interactions with them, or where they want to go, or how they see economic development in the county, or what are their aspirations for?
Yeah, it's a little hard to tell with some of these meetings because some of them have just really been brief. You know, I've dropped in on a lot of Main Street businesses, and you know, you don't want to take people away from their customers. You know, I think with the exception of some of the business or some of the manufacturing businesses I've done, like I went to International Ingredients a couple of weeks ago here in Whitehall. You know, and those kind of visits have been more, you know, scheduled versus drop in. You know, sit down, really talk about the history of the business, where it's going, that type of thing. But in general, Jeannie, I would tell you that people are very appreciative of the fact that I'm stopping in. This is not something they've seen before. I have had a lot of people ask if this is a new position, and I'm like, it is not. And then, yeah, we'll just leave it at that. I think, you know, I think people are surprised to learn that the county has a position that is responsible for economic development. Tourism, we've certainly done a pretty good job of getting in the public eye on that in the past, but economic development, not as much. So the mix of my time between economic development and tourism is going to be significantly different than my predecessors.
And I know that one of the things we wanted to do in the past is to bring members of chambers together to here for a meeting so that we could meet them all and they could know who we are, and hopefully that will be something you can work on in next week.
Right, and I have been meeting with chamber groups too. Had a really good meeting a couple months ago already now with Galesville. And I know you met with chambers, I think, back in January before I came on board. Just a couple of them, right. Yeah, and again, I think making these connections and, you know, trying to bring people together. I mean, just kind of a preview is this fall I am thinking about bringing together tourism stakeholders in the county. So campground operators, restaurants, tourist attractions, that kind of thing, because I want to have a discussion. I don't want our tourism plan to just be, you know, Dave's tourism plan or the PTED Committee's tourism plan. I want it to be something that's reflective of our partners, including taking a look at doing a branding effort. I want to say rebranding, but I'm not sure we have a brand right now. It's kind of all over the map. We've got things out there with 3 or 4 different you know, brands or slogans or, you know, whatever, so.
Yeah, I appreciate what you're saying, because I think it's important to have community buy-in, that this is not the county's thing, but it's all of us. Everybody in the county, we all share in this partnerships, because that's how we'll be successful.
I wanted to just give you a
little.
little.
Do you have a question?
I just want to give some feedback. I think that the visits have been incredible. I've heard nothing but good things about that. I think getting the businesses involved is really super important. Obviously, the tourism industry is huge in Trumpealeau County, so we just need to make sure that it's, you know, like you said, a little branded a little bit better and people know a little bit more, and I'm excited about the things that can happen. So just that, no question, just feedback.
Great. Are there any other questions of Bob?
Dave, since you've got good response with this, with the communities and stuff, did you ever consider maybe writing a little newsletter to put in the paper of what's going on, say once a month? You know, the biggest thing is communication.
Right.
And if you're talking in a lot of these business places that, well, that's new to me, we never knew we had one. What do you think the general public is thinking?
Right. No, that's a good suggestion, Bob. I appreciate that. I'll talk to the paper and see if that's something that they'd be interested in. Of course, you know, they like to sell advertising space, but if we can make the case that this is really for the public good and, you know, that's some tips and stuff. You know, we do get a good opportunity every month on WHTL. And even though it's getting outdoors, if you've listened, I've tried to weave in economic development with that. You know, we may just need to unmask it a little bit better, and maybe we do a second show per month that talks about, you know, business and economic development related issues, and keep that for talking about tourism stuff.
Have you ever thought about going on the show with Mike and just have a conversation saying, hey, we'd like to
You need to turn your mic on, no one can hear you.
You ever thought about going to talk to Mike in the mornings? I think you have in the past.
Yeah,
haven't you?
we do, yeah, every, first Thursday of every month is, we get a half an hour, and it's, like I said, the show is called Getting Outdoors, so it's been tourism-focused in the past, but I have used that opportunity to weave in talking about business stuff, some of the business visits I've made, some of the resources that are available, but I think, you know, what you're saying, Bob, is spot on. You know, I think there's some more opportunities through the paper, you know, through some direct communications with folks. And, yeah, I've been collecting business cards. Business cards have not gone the way of the dinosaurs. I've got a stack like that high since March, and, you know, ideas to try to build a communications list and mechanism so that we can get direct to people.
And even our own TV station, we
Yeah.
could do something with the park and with tourism and economic
On any given day,
development.
there's dozens of things I
Right.
could be working on. I'm trying to prioritize getting the connections
We
made
just
right
don't
now.
want you to be bored.
Yeah, well, I don't think that's going to happen. And I'm also having fun.
Good, thank you so much.
Dave, I guess if housing and childcare are two high priorities, what's your vision for your role in this committee role? Is that beginning to set a strategy to deal with some of those issues?
There's definitely going to be a role. I can tell you that. In the area, for instance, of housing, I think we need to do the study. You know, so we'll be moving that along here, I think, pretty quickly. Mike and I have talked about that. There's some resources that we've identified that are available to do that, and we'll get going on it. I can't predict exactly what that housing study will say, but in general, I think it will say we are short housing. And, you know, one of the big things, so I mean, you got to give credit, right? You know, Ashley is trying to bring in employees, you know, from La Crosse and Eau Claire. They're running their bus to do that. I don't know how much success they've had with that because I haven't got a chance to get in with Ashley yet. They're a little hard to connect with. But, you know, if the easiest, you know, and the thing is, I think we've got a lot to sell to people about Trempealeau County. You know, it's just a wonderful place to live. And, you know, we could easily do a campaign aimed at encouraging people to not only come visit Trempealeau County, but live here. You know, put down roots and grow your family and grow your future here. But we don't have the housing. So to spend, you know, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 specifically on getting people to come live in Trempealeau County, I think would be wasted money at this point. Getting them to visit's a different story. We've got the infrastructure for that, although I would argue we're short on hotel rooms as well. You know, so that's another thing we look at. But, you know, there definitely will be, you know, a role. And like childcare, that's a tough one. Everybody's struggling with that. You know, there's resources and some of these, and, you know, we haven't even talked about broadband yet. And that's another, you know, priority that's out there, is to pick up the ball and get moving on that again, and just really quantifying, you know, what kind of broadband infrastructure we're short in this county and what it would take to build that out. There's any number of things we could be working on. Some of it's going to come down to priorities, but I'd like to, you know, going forward, you know, in some future meetings, be able to bring back, you know, some specific topics and talk about that and get some sense of direction, and even some sense of, like, you know, how much the county board might be, you know, willing to invest in some of these things, or at least have it on your radar screen when you're prioritizing.
The university, UW-Eau Claire, the geography department did some research on Trempealeau, Buffalo, and I think Pepin County, and they interviewed students who were from those areas about a multitude of things. But one of the things they talked to them about is why they didn't come back home after graduating.
Right.
And the number one issue was they had no place to live. There's no apartments, and they did not want to live in it. But the research has already started there, and I can hook you up with the professor. I mean, the research is really excellent in Trempealeau County on what they did. And the many reasons.
That would be good.
Students were not returning back.
I would
Kids of
appreciate
parents.
that, because that's, you know, I mean, I don't know, Blake, I don't know if you're planning on coming back after graduation, but, you know, that's, you know, growing your own workers, literally, you know, it's a definite strategy, and it's successful, but you gotta define, you've gotta ask young folks, you know, even in the high school,
Right.
I think, you know, what are your plans after graduation? What would bring you back after you went away to college or whatever? Or what would keep you here? Because, you know, not everybody goes to college either.
Right. What
you
kept
know?
them here is they loved the environment.
Correct.
And they loved being outside, and they loved the touristy kind of
Yep.
things and
Yep.
and the environment. But they said, I can't live in my parents' basement for the
Yeah.
next.
I'm not putting you on the spot, Blake, but that thought crosses my mind a lot.
Anyway, so I'll hook you up with.
Yeah, just to add to that is broadband is a huge part of that too, that study they did. They don't have no place to live, but they want to be connected.
Yeah,
and they want
right.
the speeds.
Yes.
That's why the fiber is so important.
Yeah.
That is a big thing, because they can work from home. So.
Anything else for Mr. Carlson? Okay, we'll move on to 9, Parks and Environmental Specialist update, and I believe that's you.
Yep, that'd be me. Okay, just gonna give the committee some update of what's been going on at the park as of late, and a little bit of snowmobile stuff and the Lotstone Trempealeau. As far as snowmobile, I'll get that out of the way real quick. If the committee, I don't know if anybody in the committee was aware, the new members anyways, that we did receive 2 grants for new snowmobile bridges. And one will be going in just north of Blair, crossing Lakes Cooley Creek, and then the other one will be crossing Elk Creek up kind of between Oliva and Elk Creek up that way. So just been working with, you know, the bid process is done. I'm working on the permits right now with the DNR, and then the contractors are going to probably come down late summer to install the bridges. So that's just an update on those couple of
What are the
items.
costs of those bridges?
One was around 43,000. The other one was, I believe, 71.
They're small, single spans that can be.
They
set.
are. They can handle the groomers. You know, they can take a weight up to 25,000 pounds. And, you know, they're replacing bridges that had been there for, as far as I know, talking to the clubs, 40-plus years, if not longer. So in its time, I mean, you go down there and take pictures of them and look at them. It's, you know, I don't know if I'd want to be in the groomers crossing some of those bridges, but I really hit the gas on the snowmobile when it's time to get across it. But no, those are 2 grants we received, so be exciting to get those in. And once they are installed, I'll get some pictures and show them to the committee as well. And then we do have an AED at the park now. I know, Bob, you asked me to take a look at that. Actually, I looked into potentially getting some, and the sheriff's department had just purchased a bunch of new ones, so we actually were able to get them for free. So Sheriff Semmingson was able to donate us an AED for the park, which was awfully nice of the department. I've also purchased new campsite signs for sites 1 through, it's all of our electric and water and our electric sites, so about 1 through 33. Those are being, I know most of them are installed, Mark, not quite all of them yet.
Matter of where to put some of them.
Some of them, yeah, I just need to put them on on fence posts. We do have a new soda machine at the park. As far as what that costs, the park only has to provide the power, and then we get a commission check quarterly, which is actually going to switch to monthly here soon. And we get a 10% commission, which is about $4.50 a case. So now we have 2 machines at the park. I don't know. According to the guy who sells Pepsi, he says it outsells 7-1, but probably talk to the guy who sells Coke, he'll say the same thing. But so we have a Coke machine and a Pepsi machine out there now. A little update on Memorial Day weekend. All of our electric and water sites were full. All of our electric sites were full, which we have 19 electric and water, 8 electric, and then a handful of rustic sites were there. And we also had a pretty good showing of trail riding for horses on Saturday. I wasn't able to talk to any of them about it, but I saw all the trailers and trucks there when I was there. And I don't know the route that, I spoke with one of them prior to the weekend, and I guess they have a nice trail system that goes north and then through a bunch of different farms and loops back, and they do it every Memorial Day weekend. So that was great to see that out there. Everything ran pretty smooth. When we already have shelters and reservations booked for next year on that weekend, and both shelters, or I'm sorry, the Kloss shelter was full on Saturday and Sunday, so Memorial Day was a big weekend, and it went good, and no complaints there. The Trempealeau lots, we have 6 of them occupied for the season. We're going to be down there today, I think, doing some maintenance down there, Mark, yep. So that's just a little update on that. And then the lower shelter, I've had contracts out there. I am waiting on quotes. I don't know if the new committee members probably aren't aware that we have a bunch of siding and materials in our maintenance shed that we're going to use to upgrade the lower shelter. So, it's not like we have to go out and purchase these, at high lumber costs or whatnot. And it also opened up some room in our maintenance shed. So as soon as I get those quotes in, obviously I'll be presenting, at the next committee meeting for approval, or wherever the committee wants to take that. If we want to, have that involved, maybe in this master plan, is where on the priority list that should be.
Just a note, all of that wood was donated by Blade Millworks several years ago, so.
Yeah, I mean, side note there, the amount of donation and labor that the people, donate to the park it's pretty amazing. I know some of the local businesses have even, called in saying, how can we help? And we'll donate our time, so. And clubs, the park is, has really kept going due to community support, that's for sure. Other than that, that's about all I have for the update, and I'd like to invite any of the folks that aren't very familiar with the park or those Trempealeau lots. I could certainly meet any of you out there at any time to answer any questions and actually take a look at things in person, so don't hesitate to give me a call or stop into the office upstairs. Yes, Bob?
You forgot that your cameras are up and running.
Cameras are up and running. Mm-hmm.
How's that working?
It's good.
You're not looking at your phone all hours?
No, but I am on, when on weekends and whatnot, when people are, there using the park and whatnot. I am planning on having another one installed kind of near the entrance, but I want to see kind of where we go with this master plan, and then we can set that somewhere on that priority list as well.
You might want to give a brief explanation about the cameras and how they work and how they're attached to your phone.
Sure. As of right now, we only have the cameras on the Kloss shelter. That's the main building by the bathrooms there. And the reason for that is there's been a history of, break-ins and whatnot out at the park, and it connects right to the work phone, and I can kind of monitor a live video feed, and it saves it for a certain amount of time. Not exactly sure how long that is. I want to say 30 days or something. So, if there is an issue, you can go back and retrieve that data and see what exactly happened, or maybe catch a license plate or something like that. So, right now there's 4. And the other ones that would be installed would run wirelessly off of the bathroom facility, because there is fiber running there, and we have a wireless router set up. So, does anybody have any questions about any of the updates from the park? Yeah, Bob?
I got something to add to that. There's been some interest before the 50th anniversary about having some benches out there in memory of other people, including myself. Are we looking at maybe just purchasing so they're all uniform to the same? You don't want, a mix and match of different styles out there.
Yes, I guess I'm open to whatever you would feel that you would want to have out there.
Because the last time we had ordered, I think we'd ordered like a half a dozen of them.
Okay.
That different families had put in memory of their family members and stuff. And then now with this going on, there's some more interest. So,
Sure.
I mean, if we, pick a company out and, so they're all uniform and that they're not shabby looking and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Is that something you'd like me to look into for styles or anything, or do you have something in mind, Bob?
I don't have anything. I know what we did when we ordered them the last time. It come right through, the director.
You can ask Paul. I think he.
Paul Severson?
Yeah.
Okay.
You want them to look the same? You see if you can get the same kind that we have around the.
Yeah, would you be
around
okay
the
with the
shelter right now.
match the same ones we have?
Yeah, they all came from the same place.
Okay.
And then at the same time, would you look at like the plaques that would go on them? Because that was the one thing
Yeah,
that we
you know-
were looking at too, is how they get the uniform plaques.
those plaques don't seem to have well, maybe when I talk to Paul, I can find out. They don't seem to have a business or anything, name or anything on them, so I don't know if, to keep it consistent, somebody would know where there must be record of purchase or something like
They
out
seem
there.
kind of generic.
I
Yeah,
think when those benches were purchased, it was right through the regular company themselves. They
did the plaque.
They supplied the plaque and
Got
the
it.
bench.
okay. And I'll be in touch with you guys about that as well. Any other questions for me or discussion?
Thank you.
Just one.
Yes.
Buzz.
Buzz.
That Sandhill Hatcher Chicks, that was right there along the
I,
base.
I saw, well, you can't see that nest now, but I saw a couple with one little one around, and you know what? Those things don't back down to your pickup truck. I mean, I wouldn't want to be just walking up to them, you know?
I stopped in a few weeks ago and she was still sitting there.
Yeah.
Yeah, baby chick at the
Mhm.
park. Okay, 10, road maintenance, park road maintenance, discussion and possible action.
That will be me as well.
Yay.
I have a couple of quotes that I'm hoping that the committee will approve today so we can get some new gravel put in on. If you look at your map that was given, the master plan map, basically right where number 12 is, if you see that gray area, that's the current driveway. Going left, it's through the campsites where it says number 8 there, and then that little loop at the end. I'd like to get gravel done on that whole stretch there. And then the parking lot area, which is to the right of number 12 there. I'm not sure the last time it was done. I know it hasn't been done since I've been in the position, and that's been about May of 19. And it looked like it hadn't been done before that for some time, and there's a lot of potholes. And that's probably one thing I hear most from people that camp there is, can you fix up the roads a little bit? Just walking for bikes and everything and that kind of thing. And so I do have a couple of quotes. This would come out of the parks budget parks improvement line item. One is for $6,000, one is for $6,769, and the highway department is the lower one. So I've been asking Al, and I feel like it's something that it could get done right away. I shouldn't say right away, but soon. And so I'm looking for committee approval on that if possible.
We get it done before Ashley for the.
Yes.
That would be great.
We need a motion. I entertain a motion. Is there a second? All those in favor? Aye. And just to be clear, it's for the highway department bid?
That's correct, yes. And I've got copies of that if anybody wants to see it.
Okay.
Okay.
We got 19 campsites.
Yeah, do you know roughly when that would be, maybe?
But you gotta have a road.
Okay. And this will also kind of fill in some low spots over kind of by the shelter and whatnot, that kind of thing. And then, Mark, we can obviously take some of that gravel and fill in just small potholes here and there, so.
The last time we got some gravel, I don't know, about 3 years ago, I mean, we filled in a few spots here and there. And,
yeah.
That was when they made that driveway into the field that's now donated to us so we could get the cars in there and stuff.
Well, thanks to the committee. It'll make things look real nice out there, and it's needed, so, yeah.
Okay, 11, Trempealeau River Water Trail Partnership.
Yes, this is something that Mike kind of put me in charge of going with, and our intern, Blake Johnson, that's going to be something he's going to kind of be heading up throughout the summer, and either I'm assisting him or he'll be assisting me throughout this time, and then yeah, exactly. He can kind of take it from here, kind of what he's thinking and what he's been working on so far.
Right. I'll start by introducing myself for those of you that don't know me from last summer. This is my second summer interning here. My name is Blake Johnson. Like I said, second summer as the DLM intern. But yeah, as Reed mentioned, I was kind of tasked with assisting with this as one of my projects throughout the summer. I would say that Trempealeau River Water Trail, I'm not sure is necessarily a title that we're married to. It's more of our operating title, title of reference for the time being, per se. Something more fitting may come about. But again, we're kind of starting to look at this in terms of a phased approach in accordance with what would have been adopted in the 22 to 26 outdoor rec plan. This was a high priority item with the goal of establishing kind of a cohesive whole as far as navigable, both water and landings and mapping and everything associated with the Trempealeau River. As Reed mentioned, and as is mentioned on the agenda, it is a partnership. So the next step here, logically, is going to be talking to current landowners of landings and kind of, be they municipalities or private landowners, and working to, again, build that partnership and form, like I said, a cohesive whole. Not to take away from the individuality of those existing landings, but focus on how we can develop this water trail in a way that not only benefits county tourism and stewardship of the river, but also has benefits to those current landings. Eventually, long term, we'll look at where would be beneficial to implement new landings or how we can improve this water trail. But I think for the time being, for the summer, our main goal is going to be working with what we have for landings and developing a marketing plan. That'll be something we work a lot with Dave on, figure out how to just increase the visibility of recreation on the Trempealeau River. So yeah, any questions on that?
Have you paddled it yet, Blake, to see about safety for sweepers and blockage and that kind of thing?
That is something we will have to do sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I've got some folks from the Black River Paddlers. They would bring saws, boats, and chaps and whatever we need to. Jeff Polzine is heading that group up. He's a retired dock and big-time paddler on the Black and East Fork and stuff. And he's anxious to come and assist.
Perfect.
Yeah, good. Bob?
It would sure be nice before we start, other places, to start right in our own park and have a decent landing right there. I mean, we worked with Land Conservation when the Elk Rod and Gun Club built the one by Crossroads, and that turned out great. I mean, we worked with Kenny Meyer, and he developed a great plan. It's probably still in the records. It's not outdated. It was very inexpensive to put together because we built it with cattle staves and stuff like that. So you had a concrete base and you had holes in it for the water and the sand to go through it.
That one you referenced, Bob, is that the first one upstream of the park?
Yes.
Yeah, I stopped there the other day.
Got a little parking lot, we, cooperation with the Rotering family, and the Rod and Gun Club put it together, and it is a very nice thing. We got a picnic table there and plenty of parking for people, because usually one of the things with canoeing around here is you take a vehicle down to the second place where you're gonna get out, so you got a way to get back to the starting point.
Do we have any concessions for transporting paddlers at all in the county? Along the communities that I'm aware of?
We do have one in North Bend. That's a boat.
And nobody else putting up for the train?
No, I mean.
There's one where? I didn't catch that.
North Bend.
Okay.
Yep. And it's kind of a small, I think she can do 22 canoes or something.
Lori, do you mean like the one that's associated with the Melrose Express that runs that way?
No, that's another one.
Okay.
There's one actually in North Bend. I'm not quite certain of her name. Sandy, I think, is the gal that runs it.
That's my neighborhood. I can check on that on the way home.
That'd be great, yeah.
Is that the one that's affiliated with the old dining place?
Yes, yes, the place that burned down.
Yes.
Yes, correct. That is correct. We do a little bit, but, not a ton.
Blake, I'd be more than willing to help coordinate that with you and assisting a day. I'd love to jump in a boat and paddle and see what we got out there. Maybe pick a couple of days, do 5 or 6 miles a day or something. Pick a couple of reaches, Bob, that you think are most used, and let's hit those first.
I know there's quite a bunch from Independence that usually go 4th of July weekend. I think there's usually around, I would have to say at least 50 canoers at one time. Yeah, and they put on an Independence at Four Seasons Park, and their final stop is at Petrick Park.
Yeah.
But it's every 4th of July they do that. I mean, from 8 to 80, I mean, little kids and everything, they just go as a
Yeah.
big bunch, and
Silver's has a group.
sometimes they have a
Mikey
cookout down
Warner-
there.
Mikey Warner's got a group usually, yeah.
That's great.
How long is that stretch there?
Depends how much beer
I
you
think
have.
it's around 4 hours. I think roughly, if no monkeying around, about 4 hours.
Okay.
Those are nice paddles, eh?
It is.
Is there there was an issue of possible action, is there anything? No, just make sure Buzz shows up to help.
Jeff said he always saw it. He didn't saw it over Jackson County, so.
Are there any other questions regarding this issue? Okay. Farm Progress Park Memorandum of Understanding discussion. Is that you, Michael?
Yeah, I'm going to start out with this, and included in your documents was a memorandum of understanding signed back in 2016. And according to this, we're supposed to review and adopt this with the healthcare center on an annual basis. Doesn't look like that's been necessarily happening, but I think, it kind of gives I learned a lot reading this about who's responsible for what. It looks like a lot of what's in here is of the maintenance is on the plate of the healthcare center. One thing I did not see in there, who's responsible for marketing the amenities of the park. And right now, I could not find anywhere on the internet, on a webpage, on the county website, anything talking about Farmers Progress Park. What I also found interesting is this pamphlet from 1970, I think it's 77, somewhere in there, about how the Trempealeau County Parks Committee created Farm Progress Park. So that should be in your documents. It's an interesting read. If you're not familiar with the history, I learned a lot about it, and it just kind of, all the people involved, it's interesting to see some of the names. So I included that for you as well. I think there's the actual resolution creating the park in there, or two different ones on page 3. But if you guys want to feel like this is important to renew or maybe add marketing of the park, who would be responsible for that, which entity, which organization, which department, we can do that. Certainly because it's a memorandum MOU, we'd have to work with the healthcare center on that. Any questions?
I don't think historically it's really been advertised, or, it's just there, and people, I know the biggest issue is when there was a turnoff lane that went right into the park, and the state took that away from the park and the healthcare center, so now it's a little more complicated, but, there's a lot of, there's there's volleyball, there's a fountain, you used to have fish in it, but they all died.
Basketball court?
Yeah.
In a nice shelter, and it looks like
Yep.
some kind of like outdoor, like either fireplace or grill cook. I haven't actually walked in there, but you can see the chimney.
Yeah, the shelter's very nice.
I will report that we were discussing the baseball field before, and my son plays 10U ball for Melman, and they actually had a game over there. So it worked out pretty well. I was kind of surprised that we were having it there, and it seemed to work out well.
And the healthcare center does all the maintenance of it, as I recall.
The ballpark was used again this weekend for another tournament.
It gets
So
used a lot, I think.
It gets used a lot for kids softball, baseball.
Jeannie,
Yes?
Mike, what's your plan of action here? What were you recommending we do?
Well, it really says we should adopt it every year, so I guess if you guys are interested and think that's important, I can reach out to the healthcare center director and, review that and see if he has any issues or concerns, and I would bring up the marketing piece. I think that's missing in here, and so I would say that would be one piece we would want to add.
Who runs it? Does the healthcare own it, or do we
The park,
operate
it's a county
it?
park.
It's county park, so it falls underneath us.
But the healthcare center does all the maintenance and,
Well, I would say, according to this memorandum of understanding and how things are working today, all the maintenance is done by the healthcare center, and the reservation of the ball fields and the shelter is all conducted by the healthcare center.
it would be good to have a joint meeting with them. We used to have meetings with them, and we'd have a picnic once a year with them and talk about, we got really involved with them when when DOT took away our turn lane into the park.
Was there some concern from those folks the last time we sat down with them regarding their usage and public usage?
That was with some of the land there's a lot of county land that's associated with the
county
healthcare
farm,
center. And we had a brief conversation at a meeting about using it for public. This was last year, I think, wasn't it? Because right after our meeting, we had a phone call from people, from Jerry Dietz, who wanted to talk about how they use,
Yeah, that was the Blair
Right.
one more than.
Yeah, then they
this
came
one.
to the when we held the PTED
I
meeting
thought
at the park.
Yeah,
They actually.
Jerry came.
Use this park for some of their programming or something?
Camping with taking residents out for nature, day trip stuff,
Okay.
so.
Mike, I didn't get a chance to read this, I apologize, but is there anything in there about who's responsible for any accidents or anything happens out there while the park is being used? Is it our insurance or is it the healthcare center's insurance?
That's a good question. I'd have to review this, and that's maybe another issue. Marketing and insurance would be a good thing to review.
It feels like it fell under the county's liability, as I recall, but we haven't met with them in a long time.
They're an identity of the county, so it falls underneath county, because that's county,
Well,
that's a county park.
do
You
you know?
can easily clear it up by just asking Krista, because we have the county policy.
Oh, okay.
So I can get it from her right away.
But it's still
just-
county. It's still county.
Right, just to clarify, that's all I'm asking.
No, it still falls under the county.
Just to make sure.
We can ask Krista.
It doesn't hurt to.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I think it did fall under our general, because we had some issues about that. I can't remember, but,
Question for you, Mike. Who does the reservations that, if they want to rent the ballpark, rent
Healthcare
it?
center.
Healthcare center.
Healthcare center, why are they renting it? It's a park.
I don't know.
It should come to this committee if we're renting it or not. It shouldn't be underneath them.
it's,
We can throw that in as part of the discussion.
I recommend that we do.
Okay.
Because it's a county park. It shouldn't be the healthcare center setting it up. They should be asking the parks if they're gonna use it or not. And everyone should be asking this committee to rent that park.
well, it'll be good to have the people from the healthcare center, because I believe there's some historical, I can't pull it out of my head right now, but,
There used to be a historical factor to it, but that is long gone.
right.
There
Well,
used to be a
just-
farm there, and that farm is long gone. And now it's just a healthcare center. And they can use it. I absolutely agree that they should have the residents go out there and walk around and get out and be in the park. But it is a park, it's a county park.
Well-
It comes to this committee.
The conversation we had with the healthcare center was not about the park, where the ballpark and everything is. It's land that they owned, that we had a brief.
I'm not going to that route. I'm
Okay.
just talking
Yeah,
about the
there
park.
is no
I'm just talking
issue-
about the park.
There's no issue about their residents walking around. I
No,
mean,
no,
that's-
what I'm saying is, when we rent it out to these ball clubs that want to use the ballpark, it should come.
Yeah, we can have a conversation.
It should come to DLM, so they can,
Jerry Dietz will probably call you after this.
so it should not be a healthcare center
Yeah,
issue.
we'll have a conversation with
it-
them.
It just clears,
I'll reach
clarifies everything.
out to Jerry, and we'll review this document. He may have some ideas on things to update, but right now, the things that we see are missing are insurance, marketing, and park amenity reservation.
I think, oh, that was not in the MOU?
I didn't see it in there. I could have missed it,
Okay,
but
all right.
we'll review it and.
Okay.
And,
But yeah,
at a-
those are the things I would review and bring back.
Yeah.
So we can.
At a future meeting.
Yeah.
Whenever when Jerry and I get it to a point
Yep.
that it's ready to come back.
When the road system disappeared out there, that's when we kind of lost control of what was going on out there. There used to be a lot of guys that would stop and have their lunch break there, or they had a kid that was a little wound up, just pull off the road, kind of like these waysides, along the countryside, where they let a kid run around for a while and hop in the car and go for a while. But I mean, that's when we lost control out there, is when the road system.
Right.
Well, I think we need to
disappeared.
reestablish that control.
Does the healthcare center still pay half of the bills out there?
The healthcare center pays all of the bills.
Pays
out
all
there.
of the bills.
We used to pay half for the electrical for the water pump, the fountain, but since the fountain is no longer working, we
Okay.
have not paid anything.
So they pay
for
all
that.
the bills?
Yes,
Okay.
it's all budgeted with them.
So we need to bring that up too, to
That
figure
would
out.
affect our budget.
But it's a park.
Right.
It
We
needs to
can-
come back to the budget up
I
here.
think there's
and-
so much we don't know
But
that
this,
we have to
this
have
is where we
them
need
here.
to have
Right.
Mr. Corman go back and talk to Mr. Dietz
Well-
and establish the grounds again of this is a county park and.
We'll have him come
it-
to our meeting.
And we need to come to an agreement of either we pay half or we pay full.
Right.
That way, it's a shared park with the healthcare center.
As a public member, I just want to bring up, I think why the reservations have gone through them has been because they do use that park quite a bit for their residents, activities and stuff like that. And I think that when you do have the discussion, you do have to take in consideration it's going to have to be mutual, because they will need to know when that ballpark is being used, so they don't plan activities as well as keep residents.
And that's where they're part of this. That's why I'm trying to go
Right.
half and half. If that's, they'll keep the maintenance up, say they keep the maintenance up and we pay the bill for the electrical. Just trying to keep this fair and keep them in the loop of when we reserve, because you can have a computer system that they can pull up on theirs too. Okay, there's a ball game this day or whatnot. They're still in the loop. I'm not trying to kick them out. I'm trying to keep everyone in the loop because we're out of the loop now. We need to be back in.
And I don't even know if they charge for the ballpark, because I know one time when there was like a state tournament for softball, it was used, and I thought there was even something about concessions, they couldn't sell concessions there or something like that.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of unanswered questions at the moment.
So I would look into all that, Mike.
I'll do that.
Thank you.
Oh, I lost my agenda. Can I see what's next? Are there any further discussion on this issue? Okay. Campground, did you want to go back to the discussion on the park to talk about Friends of Petrick Park? since-
Yeah, maybe we can.
So we're gonna swing back to Parks Specialist update to just address your question about
Friends of Petrick.
Friends of Petrick Park. I'm sorry. I had that and the celebration in my brain at the same time.
That is, we haven't made any progress on that to date, but I think what we're gonna, what I've talked to Dave about and Reed about doing is kind of setting the goal of getting that incorporated by the end of the year. I'm not sure on the timeline on how quickly the IRS is processing 501c3 status, but I think it's a reasonable goal for us to bring in the proper public input and everything and get the articles of incorporation, if we kind of shoot for, have that incorporated by the end of the year. And then shortly after the first of the year, kind of submit that application for nonprofit status to the IRS. That's kind of the timeline that I'm looking at.
Any other questions about that? Friends of the Park? Okay.
Will, I have one question.
Okay, go ahead.
Will previous donations that have been given, will that be part of that, or will it just start new after that?
Start new.
So then those people will not be listed? I mean, there's people listed out there right now, Friends of Pedrick Park.
Oh,
or is it-
everyone will get recognized
Yeah,
in some
oh,
way. It
okay.
just, the 501c3, that's going to be a separate organization from the county, a separate board that will be an advocate for the park and for fundraising. So we'll work in concert together. It's certainly going to be kind of an arm of the county park, but it'll certainly be its own standalone organization.
Thanks.
Anything further? Okay. Campground reservation system, discussion, possible action.
A little background on this. I'll do a little background, then I'll hand it over to Reed. Again, I started August 18th of last year. The idea in the past, it came up that we need an online reservation system. That was a great idea. October of 2020, a contract was signed with a company to develop software with the IT department to do an online reservation system. And that was included about an $850 setup fee and then another $950 or so annual fee after that. So each year, another $950 some. That was adopted October 2020. My understanding is that was supposed to go live about 5 months later. COVID came into play, and meanwhile, things moved slowly. We were hoping to test it out after the Ashley Rush, January 1, because we didn't want all that work to overload a new system right away. Things continued to get delayed on the contract side, and the summer's quickly going by to test out a system before the next Ashley Days Rush. So we would like to move in a different direction. And we have three different programs we've looked at a little bit, and Reed can take it from here.
Yeah, obviously there's tons of different programs out there. I've been in touch with Lori. We were planning on getting together yesterday. We'll have to set up a time, though, so we can come down and see what you're running down there at Champions. Yeah, something needs to happen soon. It's like Mike mentioned, we're into June now, and we just can't really wait any longer because pretty much people are booking now for even next year already. So if I'm hoping that depending on, I'd hate to wait another month. I know we don't have any like dollar values or anything like that, but I know that there are some programs out there, such as the one that Lori's business uses, there's no upfront fees as far as I understand. It basically, what's paying for the system is users when they reserve. So if we get committee approval to approve or proceed with something like this, just so there's not another delay of me doing some more research on different reservation systems and then having to wait till the July meeting or August meeting, whenever that may be. It'd be nice to be able to go ahead with that, working with Lori or some of these other companies. So then we can get it hopefully up and running, like you heard Lori say earlier, within the month, and then we can test it out. Because as Mike was mentioning, the Ashley for the Arts, if you aren't aware, we start opening it up for reservations on the stroke of midnight on New Year's Eve. And right now we're just using the courthouse telephone system, and that comes in with like the times of those voicemails coming in. And typically in the first 10 minutes we get 150 phone calls. And it takes me about a month to go through all those and get in touch with people, because, I'll call somebody that was, let's say, third in line, and I don't want to just bypass them because they waited for it. And if they don't get back to me within like 48 hours, you know what I mean? It's archaic, and it's so something needs to be done. And I'm hoping the committee allows us to proceed and just go for it with whatever we decide.
I guess I'd like to make a motion that Reed is able to look at a reservation system and get something in place as soon as possible. Something lower, no cost.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Do you have a discussion?
I have a discussion.
Oh.
What would be the top dollar for that, like, that system? Like, so we don't go over this?
Right,
Because right now, you have free range. You could spend
Yeah,
10
exactly.
grand.
That's what I was hoping
No,
there'd
and
be
I'm
a dollar,
like, we're
but-
trying, I'm just trying to put a dollar amount of.
Right.
Please don't go over this because of our budget.
There is a dollar amount that, isn't there a dollar amount that you have to do without coming back for county?
Right.
for
I
approval?
think, the systems the one system, what is it called?
CampSpot.
CampSpot is the one.
It's our understanding that there's no setup fee, no annual fee. It's just a percentage of the booking that the camper pays. There's another one that has a setup fee but no annual fee.
No, I just wanted to know financially, because we didn't talk much about that.
Right.
But
Maybe we
wanna
should
get
have-
you going.
Yeah,
But
maybe we
wanna-
should-
I wanna know what the dollar signs are gonna be too.
You should have some.
We should have
dollar
some
amount.
established amount, just in
Yeah.
case, because you never know, you start reading the fine print.
You know, we have a little different system, obviously, because,
Mhm.
I'm involved with
Can you turn on your
220
mic, please,
campgrounds.
Lori?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, so we have a little different system because, we're involved with 220 campgrounds, so CampSpot might look at us a little differently
Mhm.
than a county park. But there is absolutely no reason that park shouldn't be booked every single weekend. And I can tell you right now what the problem is reservations. No human being that camps anymore is gonna go through that nightmare of a reservation system. They just won't. It just doesn't happen. So we've got to fix this right away for you. Because
That would
for
be
one thing,
awesome.
your month of work, oh my gosh, you have so many talents that could be better used than this. So
Yeah, I wish
let's
you
get
had-
it fixed.
I wish you had your legal tab here. You could show them the numerous papers.
No, I get it,
Every
but,
hour, minute that someone calls.
Just go ahead and
Do it.
get something done.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you very
Do
much.
you want a
Appreciate
dollar
that.
limit to not go over?
What, do you have something in?
Maybe
for it?
$2,000 is the cutoff.
$2,000?
That's what-
2,000 is the cutoff, I believe, for committee approval. Am I right, Becky, on that, or is it 1,000?
So committee approval is anything 500 or more,
So,
but there's also other aspects that you have to go
That's
to. If you go over
right.
10,000, there's
Yeah.
quotes you have to get.
Could we have one person talk at a time? Becky's explaining something
No, I was
right
gonna
now.
make an amendment on the,
But could Becky finish, please? Thank you.
Okay, so the purchase policy, there's different, so I have certain areas, like $2,000 to $9,999 requires 2 quotes, and then anything over that requires bidding. So there are levels that we have to abide by. But if you get approval from the committee ahead of time for a certain dollar amount, that is your approval, that is your supersede.
Okay.
So,
so I make the motion to amend the resolution, or the resolution that came before on no more than spending than $2,000.
So you're amending,
I'm amending
Lori's-
Ms. Severson's
okay.
motion to read the okay to go ahead with the system, the reservation system, but I'm going to make the amendment of 2,000.
Is there a second on the amendment?
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Do you have a question, Buzz?
Well, the question is there an IT snafu that's gonna jump in here on us?
That's my concern.
Well, there always is. There always is a little bit of an issue with that, but in today's world, it would just shock me if there's not.
I
yeah.
it, Lori, that this is a doable
Yeah.
thing. I didn't know if there's an internal policy.
Have
you
you
know, the
talked to Tim
the-
about this?
Yes, and he's comfortable with moving on from his
Okay.
contract.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
Tim's good with it, we're good with it.
But you're right, the IT thing is usually the hardest part to just get them to.
Going on for the October of this year will be 2 years,
Wow.
so.
I get that, I guess I'm learning that it takes a whole lot longer in
Government
government
moves
than it does
slowly.
private, but goodness, I'm sure we can make something work here. Yeah, let's give it a whirl, huh?
Okay, so
These-
we've
go ahead.
approved the amendment. Do you have something more to
No.
say? Okay. Now we need to vote on the original as amended. We just need to vote on the original as amended, that
Oh, okay.
they can go ahead but not go under, what was it, 2,000?
No, not
Okay.
over 2,000.
Not over 2,000. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Petrick Park 50th anniversary discussion.
I can jump in on that one. Reed and I have been talking about it. I guess my involvement's because it really is kind of an opportunity to market and promote the park and recognize all the great things that have happened over the years, starting with the donation of the land for the park. So just kind of what we're thinking at this point, and we wanted to throw this out there and get committee input, is a 3 or 4 hour event sometime on the 24th of September. You know, kind of a combination of open house to encourage people that maybe haven't been out there before to come and see the park. Have a recognition event, you know, of the 50th anniversary. And, you know, we had also talked, you know, since obviously youth involvement, you know, was such, or youth activities, 4-H was such a huge part of the genesis of this park, was to take a look at incorporating some 4-H or FFA type projects, demonstrations, you know, things that kids might be working on, you know, and showcase those. We have not done any outreach to those groups yet. The last piece that we had kind of talked about was the idea of, you know, having some kind of a meal, whether it's, you know, hot dogs and burgers, or, you know, a chicken barbecue or something like that. But yeah, something, you know, something could raise funds and just give people a reason to, you know, come out for maybe 2-3 hours instead of, you know, not coming at all, or just stopping in briefly. So that's the concept that we're looking at. We've also talked with WHTL about putting together, you know, a week or two long campaign, you know, on the air to try to get people to come out for it. As an aside, we're also talking, and I'm working right now on developing the spot, but we're also taking a look at potentially developing a spot with WHTL to run this summer to try to encourage some more reservations at the park, both for the shelter and for campsites. And as we,
What is the status of the shelter reservations right now, Becky?
so that's really the rough outline of a plan. I think that could, you know, coalesce pretty quickly, if that sounds okay with the committee, or if there's some tweaks you'd like to make. But I think it would be reasonable to come back at the July meeting and really have a pinned down agenda.
How many 4-H groups are there in town?
I'm not sure either.
Yeah, Andrea was she at our last meeting? Yeah, she was at our last meeting. There's quite a few 4-H groups.
Oh, there's more than 6.
There's a lot more than 6. There's quite a few.
I've seen the banner at the fair with all the groups, and it's probably a dozen.
I was gonna say, there used to be at least 15, but some of them.
Well, you could probably get the ones that are geographically close to the park and.
And then Dave, I'm not sure if you mentioned maybe we have a, you know, a podium there, or not necessarily a podium, but, you know, speaker system, maybe have a few speakers, maybe some folks that either knew Joe personally, or stories of him, or maybe, you know, maybe the Petrick family would like to say something, or, I mean, maybe not. We can always figure out that agenda of who would talk and who wouldn't. But we're just open to any ideas, so we can just get going here on the planning process.
The master plan is showcased there as a big part of it.
It will be, for sure.
That's what I was thinking when we talked about, you know, kind of the open house concept too, so.
And then maybe some personal invites to specific donors.
Yeah, we might be able to have people leave their names if they're interested in joining the Friends group, as an example, yeah.
Bob, you have a,
I know the 4-H people from Clark County want to come to this, and they've got a donation because Farm Technology Days are going to be in Clark County this year. And basically, this is where Joe Petrick started, was in Clark County when this accident had happened. So the 4-H people from Clark County would like to be included in this also.
okay. Yeah, and Melissa works with Clark and Trempealeau. It might be good to have a booth or some information at the 4-H fair, at the county fair this year to alert people that this is happening. And I know we talked about having T-shirts made and posters, but I don't know whatever. Kids in school, we're gonna develop a logo.
I have an update on that.
Okay.
There was no participation in it, unfortunately. And I reached out to the schools quite a bit, and I don't know if it was a time thing or whatnot, so
COVID was in the way, that was part of it.
That's another thing that if we're going to want to present a new logo for the park for the 50th, we'll have to come up with another means of doing that throughout the summer here. But I'd reached out to every school in the county, and
County logo is pretty awesome.
yeah.
And the woman who developed the Trempealeau County poster, she was at one of our meetings. She might, I mean, I love the poster that she did for Trempealeau County.
Reed, you can open that to the public. There might be some people out there in the public, in the county, but they would have to be a resident of the county.
Right.
I would assume.
Have it on HTL.
Yep, just.
We can do that, you bet.
Throw that out there and, maybe put a prize on it. Make it a prize, possibly, and you throw them $100.
Free Ashley for the Arts campground.
There you go. Something.
Except there aren't any, are they? They're all full.
But
we can make one.
We'll make one.
Special campground.
Special campground.
A special spot for Ashley at
something
the Arts.
to enticing the people of the
That's
county.
a good idea, though. A camp.
Because we did that in Independence.
Develop a spot at the park
for some of the stuff, right, Audie? Yeah. With the banners, when we did the banners.
How did you advertise that?
The school. Yeah, we advertised it to the public and the school.
Okay.
We
I mean-
we have a Facebook, don't we?
Yeah.
I mean, some of the
We have a Facebook, right?
some of the teachers showed interest for sure, and they said, "Yeah, we'll do this." And so then when I did my follow-up emails throughout the, probably every 6 weeks from, winter break till actually last fall, throughout the year, but it never ended up materializing into anything, unfortunately.
Just throw it to the public
Okay.
for a month.
Sure.
So that way we can have it possibly for the fair.
Yeah.
No, fair's sooner than that, but
We'll throw it out there this week.
throw it out this week.
Yep.
And if you get something, if you don't, well, then we'll move on.
You bet. We'll do.
I've also communicated with the TV station to reserve September 24th. That will need some TV coverage, and that there's a possibility that they could put together a really nice show for the 50th anniversary beyond just the program. It could be memorializing Joe or whatever memories. There's so many different ways to approach this, and so he's aware of the Clark County stuff too. So this is a perfect opportunity for the TV station to do a real neat program.
In the past, we had that, s'mores night or whatever, and that turned out to be a pretty good turnout for not a whole lot of advertising for it. So that would be something considered too.
S'mores and mores. And you could bring your dog. It was really fun. And some very creative s'mores that were delicious.
So one open question we sort of had was the timing during the day, when to do it. My thought was there might be some advantage to having it, say, like 2 to 6, 3 to 7 type thing, with the idea being that, you'd start in daylight, and by September 24th, we're starting to get dark a little earlier, right? That it's the kind of event that could kind of morph into, at the end, people hanging around and, hanging around a campfire and continuing to socialize and share memories and
Yeah.
3 to 7?
3 to 7.
Yep.
Rick sent that.
Do some s'mores. It's exactly what we were thinking about, like that kind of timing.
And then what are the committee's thoughts on, do we have some sort of a meal there? Do we not?
Gotta have some food. What
Gotta
about-
have food.
I would do a fundraiser, I think. They could get the chicken and do a fundraiser for it.
Okay.
Which fire department does the best job?
Arcadia and Independence Fire Departments?
Independence has a big Lions Club, well, Independence and Arcadia. Maybe they do it for free, cook the chicken, volunteer.
How about some music? I mean, the music in the park things just draw. It doesn't matter where you're at the hotel or you're up in Osseo. I mean, the music in the park things are fill them up.
Writing this all down?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll take a look at that.
Good ideas. Any other questions, issues? Bob?
Not pertaining to this, but pertaining to the park. In my adventures this year, I found out something that was very interesting. Got a gentleman from Whitehall that was a school teacher. He retired. He stuck with the program of taking kids to the park. And this year, he had his over 4,000th kid that he took to Petrick Park for a camp out. And I thought that was very interesting.
That sounds like some special recognition.
Stuart Dodge.
Yes, that should be,
Yeah.
That should be
You know,
recognized.
over his 4,000th kid. And I said, man, this is pretty interesting.
What's the name?
Stuart Dodge.
I would have them there.
Yeah.
they should have, the TV station ought to do something on him
But he
about that.
retired, but he still comes with the kids
So
to,
let's just do an
to
award
camp
for
out.
him.
He has an agenda item for next month's meeting, by the way, just so the committee's aware.
Okay.
He wants to do a presentation, but he wants it to be at the park.
Okay.
So when we set the next meeting place, maybe we'll have it at the park, but I guess that's up to you guys.
That's great.
Maybe we can create something like as a true friend of Petrick Park and give him something
Yep.
in that sense, since he has really brought interest back to the park.
Well, and he's staying true to what the park is all about, kids. Can we see if the TV station can do, maybe they're listening, TV station, can do a special, Nancy Bergman does all these interesting things with people. That would be something right up her alley. Anything else? Just to swing back to the healthcare center, Rick sent this to me. All healthcare property is under county insurance per Krista. Number 15, I was asked to put this on the agenda, reconsideration of election of officers.
Well, that was for me because it was, most of you know, the last meeting, we were told that the meeting started at 9 o'clock. Well, the meeting started before that. And being that I had just gotten back from the class on Robert's Rules of Orders, it was illegal to do that. So all the elections, technically, I think are void. Correct. You want to address it?
Not to a microphone. I'm just here to answer questions in case anything comes up.
It's just that we should have clarity on this. Should be done properly, because everybody watches these shows, so because I've got my paper that said it started at 9, and when I asked the chairman why you started early, well, we always start early. Well, that's not an excuse, a reason. It has to go off what it was posted. It was posted at 9.
Okay.
To the members.
To the members. I know all the new members didn't know it. We got in late. And then I also was told that, I got to email my computer. Well, we didn't have our computers yet, so we couldn't have got an email.
Gotcha.
So.
Okay, all right. Not specific to this particular meeting, but as a general proposition, if a meeting was posted at the legal places, which is outside Paul's office and I think 2 or 3 other locations, then it is a properly posted meeting and it's a legal meeting. So then anything that occurs at that meeting is legally sufficient. Now, I was made aware that people were notified in some form or fashion that it was started at a different time. I don't know exactly how that notification came about. I don't have the details on that, but from a purely legal standpoint, the legal posting was legally sufficient. Having said that, this committee can decide whether they want to revisit that issue or not.
That's not what we're
I'm sorry?
Sorry, Rick.
That's
That's
right.
not what we're arguing. We're just,
Sure.
we just want to clarify what happened because there was 2 different postings because the documentation from Mr. Adi Becker said 9
Oh,
o'clock.
okay, right.
So there was a screw up between Paul's office and what was posted. The
Sure.
posted stuff was right.
Correct.
What we got as members was wrong.
Sure.
And that was my question, since we just went to class for this, and Robert's Rules of Order says that, if it's posted wrong, you can't start the meeting until the appropriate time.
Sure.
So,
Right, and so all I'm saying is that what my understanding is that the legal posting of the meeting said 8:30.
Yeah, but.
Yeah, and I get that. I get that you guys were notified differently. So my point is that it was a legal meeting in the sense that it was properly posted in location. The problem, of course, is that some members were given a different time. Now that, if this was the notice that was given to the other members, this isn't the legal notice that's required under open meetings laws. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. I'm just saying from a legal standpoint, the meeting itself was a legal meeting. And so anything that occurred there was legal. Whether or not this committee decides to revisit that issue is up to this committee.
Quorum was not there at 8:30. That was the problem.
As long as a quorum was present at the time any action was taken, that's what the requirement is. And I don't know, I wasn't there, so I don't know if it was, whoever was there can answer that question, because I don't know that answer.
yeah, we were, and none of us knew people were notified.
Quarter to, about 8:45 when everybody was present, when there was a quorum.
Okay.
I got here, I thought I was 15 minutes early, I ended up being 50 minutes late. but
Sure.
We were, none of us knew people were notified of the time. This is the only notice we got. We didn't get an agenda because we didn't have our computers. We didn't get a call, we didn't get nothing in the mail, so.
Okay, so they'd already started
We-
the process of the emails,
yes.
not the mailing out of the packets.
And so
Okay.
that's the only notification we got.
Yeah, that was
Okay.
And
it.
that's.
Okay.
The election was already over before these gentlemen showed up.
Okay.
The notice that they got, they thought they were early for the meeting, but they
Sure.
were late.
Certainly. Yep.
And it's not that, I just want it to be done properly and the way it should be, and,
Sure.
because I'm glad you came down here, thank you, to
Sure.
give us clarity.
Certainly.
And it's up to the committee, whatever you guys want to do.
Correct. Yep, ultimately up to the committee.
But
I make the motion that we reconsider the re-elections of the officers.
I'll second that, just to do it right. in my
Yeah,
book.
just to do it right. I'm not saying what changes, what happens, but just to
And that's fine.
reconsider.
That's fine. I just want to have a little discussion point, since we can discuss.
Yep. Well, we didn't vote on it.
No, the motions were made, so now we can have a discussion. The only thing I worry about is setting precedents for future meetings when a decision is made or a vote is taken and you're not there, and is this going to snowball into whenever, you're not happy with how something goes, you just want to change it, or, because I did, just to make one note, at the board meeting in April, as I was having all of the new board members look at the outdoor plan, I did say we will be meeting at 8:30 on whatever the date was, May, whatever, in this room, meaning this county boardroom. So I did say that, and it was on the agenda and it was posted. But if you all want to have maybe I'll just make it easier for everybody, because I feel, I don't want to be a problem for this committee. I don't want to make it difficult, so I will just resign as chair of this committee. And I have no interest in chairing this committee because I don't feel like I would be supported, or that I have some really, I feel like there are people here who do not want me to be the chair. So to make it easier, so that we don't set a precedent for people just being unhappy with how things go, I will resign as chair of this committee, and you can have another election.
This is not a vendetta.
No.
This is no. Well, then you're taking it wrong, and then.
I'm just going to resign as chair, so.
But you have to be chair until this.
No, I'm resigning this minute, and
Lori would take
Lori
over.
can take over because she's vice chair. Or we can, there's already a motion to do it, so
Yeah, I think you should, I think we should reconsider that. Let's just, I think it's just,
We
it
have
just
to-
was just a little thing to make sure everything was correct.
Right.
We just want to make it
Yeah.
solid.
It has
there's
no.
a
We never
motion-
had-
there's
we
a
never-
motion
Some of
to-
us never had a voice in this.
Okay.
And that was the part that really
I'll continue
upset
to be chair to finish this through, but there's a motion on the floor to have new elections. There's a motion and a second,
No.
so all those in favor?
Is it new elections or just?
To reconsider.
Just reconsider, just,
To
yeah.
reconsider
The election.
The election of the offices.
So what does that means to have a new vote is what I'm hearing,
No. I mean.
unless
that
I'm
what you're
wrong.
thinking?
For
is
the same-
reconsideration.
For the same thing, right?
It just,
Yeah, it can stay the same. It's a reconsideration of agreeing to the ones that happened on that date, that we would accept it going forward.
Right.
Are you trying to say a reconfirmation?
Yes,
Yes.
thank you.
Okay.
That's the
Yes,
word I
that's
probably
what-
should have used,
Sure.
sorry.
No, that's all right, I just want to clarify.
I'm
So-
glad you're here.
Well, because that's very different from reconsideration. That,
well,
in
no,
my
that's-
mind,
that's-
reconsideration means let's have a new vote.
No,
No,
let's
no.
reconfirm.
Just want to have a voice and.
we got cheated out of a vote.
But I
mean,
would do it,
feel
I would do it
because
very
all the new
individually
members,
as each
other
member.
than you, didn't get to vote. I mean, Riley wouldn't have got to vote either.
I
If
barely-
He was,
Yeah.
he was the only one that made the quorum. And technically, I would have hoped that you would have just held back the vote until
Well,
we all
and I
got
didn't-
here.
I was
Since
not aware-
He informed you that his thing started at 9, you said.
And I was not
So-
aware until we were into the meeting that people had different times. But that thing from Paul is never an official.
But
But we didn't get nothing in it. You're
Right.
the interim and chair, you should have made more of an effort, I think, to inform all the new people that we were starting in that, especially since you
I
got the
did,
same
I
thing.
did announce
You-
it at the board meeting that we'd be meeting at 8:30 in this room.
And then we get a letter from Paul, who sent out the schedule, and it says 9.
Yeah, and that's
So
not.
that's for that time. We're moving, I want to move
Okay.
forward now.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
whatever.
I'm done talking about past. I want to solve this right now.
Can we just do the nominations over again? And, I mean, is that the
Is that what
proper
you-
way to do it?
Or do a full.
Becky,
Okay, so the motion states that it's to reconsider the election, so then you'd have to deny that motion to recreate your motion for a reconfirmation. Right.
Then I make the motion to amend to reconfirm the previous election.
And I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think.
No, but I needed that feed, so
Sure.
you're not it's there in my head, but the
Sure.
word's not coming out.
Gotcha, sure.
I got a motion.
Make a second.
is there a second to the amended
I'll second
motion?
it.
Which is just changing a word.
Correct.
Yes, we're voting on the amended motion. Can you read it back, Becky? I'm sorry, I'm lost. It's got lost in
Okay.
translation.
So a motion is made to, let me find my word here, to reconfirm the elections. That is what I have written down here. Motion is made to reconfirm the elections.
Whereas now the motion is to amend
To-
the original motion to change reconsider to reconfirm. Sorry, just for purposes of making sure.
Okay.
Legal standpoints, yes.
Sure.
Yep.
Thankfully, we're being recorded, so.
So can now vote on the amended,
Still doing the amendment, yeah.
okay,
Amended to,
okay.
Can we do a by member by member vote?
On your amended,
Well, not that, when we go, when we do a
roll call vote on your amended, we have to vote on that first.
Vote on that first, but
Okay.
after that, we would.
God, I'm lost.
You voice vote, no, and then do the roll call on to confirm everything.
Okay, so we're doing a voice vote on your
amendment,
amended.
yep.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay. I can second and nay.
Yeah.
So now we're doing a roll call, you're requesting a roll call vote on,
On everything.
on everything. Do you want to read it so we all know what we're voting on?
Rick, can you restate what you said? I'm still trying to type it.
You can't be typing and laughing at the same time.
So the amended motion now that's now the main motion, is a motion to reconfirm the election of officers from the May meeting? Was it May meeting?
meeting.
May meeting?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what you're voting on now.
Right. Okay.
And Supervisor Foltz has requested a roll call vote. So we can start with Supervisor Becker.
Nay.
Aye. Abstain.
Aye.
Abstain.
We have 2 abstains.
We have 2 abstains and we have 2 ayes and 1 nay.
Gee, I told you.
I didn't vote yet. I'll abstain.
You guys are gonna make me work this, aren't you?
You still have anybody on the line?
You're gonna make me work on this, aren't you?
Is there
No.
anybody
Maybe your money
No.
today.
Yeah, no kidding.
Jean and Adam are gone.
So
Let's do whatever.
what was the official count or
3
tally?
abstains,
3
2
abstains.
ayes, 1
Nay.
nay.
What does it mean when you abstain?
Doesn't happen often, so that's why I'm trying to refresh my memory on that.
There's nobody left on the TV.
No, one left it, Kevin left it
Right away.
right at 8:45. He had another meeting and Jean had another meeting at 10.
3 abstentions, 2 ayes, 1 nay.
Have to give me a minute.
So legal beagle, what does that mean?
You have to give me a minute on that one.
From my college parliamentary procedure deeds.
It's been a while since I've dealt with that. Anything else to discuss in the meantime?
No, oh, we need to pick another date for, because I think the 4th, our next meeting is in July. Does July 5th work for people?
Well, I would move it because that's after a holiday.
July 5th at Patriot Park.
I mean, that would,
I don't have an issue with it. I'm not going anywhere.
in a second.
Me either.
I'll be back by then. Yeah.
No, I said July 5th at Patriot Park.
Anybody else?
No, I do not.
Time,
8:30,
8:30.
unless you want to change the meeting time.
Stop looking at me.
No, I'm just asking.
No, that's good. Whatever.
Okay, so 8:30, the 5th at the park.
Location is good. We're at the park.
We're at the park. Oh God, it's gonna be July.
I'm already looking at Snowmobile.
I'll show you something. No,
You always have something going on in your backwoods.
we always have something going on in our house. One of those is mine.
It's gonna take just a minute because I gotta sign into the VPN and that takes a little bit and
8:30.
Come on, Mama.
We'll make
Now I
it
gotta
work.
find them. So Henry gets a friend. So I can bring him to the park as a little baby.
There you go. Perfect.
This is probably going to take longer than what you guys want to sit here for. Do you want to table this to the next meeting, and then we can, I mean, unless you guys want to sit and wait, it's going to take me a little bit to come up with the answer to this question.
Sure,
Just a suggestion.
that's fine. Okay, well,
Sorry.
That's right.
Wouldn't the abstains be non-void?
Say that again?
The abstains,
Mhm.
there was 3 of them.
Right.
Wouldn't that be not a vote, basically? They voted not to vote.
That is correct.
So it'd be still 2 to 1.
Not necessarily.
According to Robert's rules of
You-
order,
you-
you have to, you just can't say abstain because you don't want to vote on it. You have to abstain with reason. I mean, that's what they told us.
Oh, okay.
Because
All right.
otherwise, anything controversial, you're just gonna say I abstain
Mhm.
because you don't, you have to make a decision. Like if it was involved one of us, then you can abstain. I
Sure.
mean, that's what they told
Mhm.
us.
Sure.
well, and that's
You know-
the.
You know more than I do.
I abstain because it does involve me as the
Yes.
chair,
Sure.
so that
Mhm.
is,
Do we want to
I didn't.
revote then?
Well, and the question that I need to look at is the quorum different when people abstain, or the number of votes required different when people abstain? And I just don't know the answer to that question off the top of my head. So in other words, do you just count the people that did actually vote, or is it still considered all of the members who are eligible to vote?
Do
And that-
we just want to revote then?
And I just don't know the answer to that question off the top of my head, so.
Maybe we should just revote.
I don't think we can revote. I'm fine with waiting. We can deal with this at the very first thing in our next meeting. Or you can email us all the answer.
I'll leave it up to how you want to proceed on that aspect of things.
What is the consensus? Are people fine with waiting till July?
Might as well. Just this way, everybody can go, others will be here 20 minutes.
I'd say, I hate to have people
Yeah.
take time out of their day just waiting for me to do this, and me feeling the pressure of trying to get it done quickly.
That's an old picture.
So is that what you want to do then, is?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, all right. If someone just wants to do a motion to table.
And I'll
Thank you.
second.
Thank you.
All those in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
A motion to adjourn.
10:37.
This is what we did
I hope somebody else heard that too.
One of those was ours.
All right.